Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan Samasinger, and today I have the great pleasure of having Matt with me. Matt is 34 years old and is from Nebraska in the United States and has a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. So welcome to the show, Matt. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing good as well, man. So
Good.
it's all a it's a bit of a nervous and excitement about doing my first video interview. But yeah, I think it should be fun. It
Yeah, yeah,
should be interesting to see how it is.
yeah.
Um, so how's the COVID situation with you?
It's it's been a year. um, uh, I uh, I work over at one of the hospitals, and it's been chaotic. But I've been very fortunate in that the hospital has been really great about how they've been handling things and what's been going on. It's been a very stressful time for a lot of people, and I think that's just kind of exacerbated a lot of people's uh, uh, awareness of their health in general. So
Yeah.
it's not just necessarily COVID, because everyone's kind of like, okay, well, is this that, and everyone's kind of high strung. But
Yeah, it's not exactly normal time. But what's quite remarkable is how people just kind of adjusted to it. You know, there wasn't a big I mean, there was kind of like panic buying, I guess, but not
yeah,
people just got on with it, I guess. Most people, I think.
yeah, there's been a lot of people who've been taking it seriously. There's a lot of people in my area who haven't been taking it as seriously as they probably should have been. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that's kind of ubiquitous throughout the world. Well, most of the world. It's unfortunate that people who don't take it seriously tend to spread it to people who have been. But
Mm.
there are certain things that are unavoidable, but there are a lot of things that I think we could have, as a country, done better. But that's getting completely derailed on that.
Mm.
It's been very interesting. Uh, More so just with being schizophrenic, just in the sense that it seems like some of the things that have been happening are just part of like a grand delusion or something. I don't know. It's it's
Yes,
funny.
in reality.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost
Yeah.
you're just gonna pretend like, oh yeah, no, that didn't actually happen. That was just some
Yeah.
crap your mind made up that you're just living through.
Okay, Matt. Let's start with the mental health talk. So,
Yeah.
what the first question, always the same, which I ask, is if you give me a brief history of how your mental health journey began, what were your first symptoms, how you got diagnosed, how you got into the system, um, just that sort of thing to get a feel for it, so for other people to understand how this condition can start at a younger age.
Yeah, so I guess it probably started when I was like symptoms wise started probably when I was a younger kid. I remember like looking up in the air and seeing things like hands in the air or something, or like feeling like if I weren't to do something, something bad or terrible would happen. Like stand in this circle over here, otherwise the house is going to collapse. You can't prevent the house from collapsing unless you stand in this imaginary circle that you've drawn for yourself. And I remember one time just staring at this toy I had and seeing it just dance. But I think at that point I was kind of sleep deprived. I've never really been able to sleep well at night. Um, but throughout high school, I think it just kind of got construed as depression. I
Uh,
wasn't really sad. I was just withdrawn. I didn't really like, I guess more negative symptom wise, just didn't really have any motivation to do anything. Felt like distant from people, try to kind of lash out at like myself and my environment in a way that was kind of productive and more of a kind of like a I'm here kind of thing. But got diagnosed with depression, was put on Prozac, and I think I tried out a few other things that just didn't really agree with me. So it was better off the antidepressants and on, which is probably a big red flag that it wasn't depression to begin with. Um, I had a kind of a major psychotic break in college. Some roommates just kind of found me huddled up, just kind of mumbling to myself. I was just completely out of it.
okay.
They took me to the hospital where they kept me for a few days because they they said I was suicide watch, but there's suicide watch, and then there's like going to harm yourself because you're not suicidal. You just have these weird ideations that like I have to like cut open my arms in order to find the implant or some
Mm.
crap that just spews out like that. Because I get a lot of like weird self surgery kind of things. I've tried to like open up my hands before. I've tried to I thought doctors put an implant in my neck before. I've tried to open my neck up and try to pull that out, and I got
And is that
help.
because you were you were experiencing hallucinations, or you were experiencing something which made you believe that?
It was more just like I don't even know what got the ball rolling. I just know where it ended up at. My brain tends to take things and just kind of like run with it into all these weird, crazy directions. So I remember after one of my breaks and I was hospitalized, I was convinced that one of the doctors had injected me with AIDS, which was just this
Mm.
bizarre, like out of nowhere, just like, oh great, now I know he did that, like I know that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to experiment on me, kind of thing. Uh, I think I've been hospitalized 5 or 6 times, uh,
Yeah.
but it's over. Getting the diagnosis didn't really happen until I think I was 21 or 22 after a major break, and it's just in and out of different psychiatrists and therapists and kind of a conglomeration of all of them. Here's some antipsychotics. Oh, they're working that schizophrenia kind of thing.
Okay.
But I let's see. You know, I think everyone who's schizophrenic has like some kind of break or another. I had a therapist kind of put it as there's tiers. There are people who have one break from reality, and that's probably all they're going to have. There are people who go intermittently in and out of reality, which is kind of where I'm at. And there's some people who are just in a constant state of delusion, which is there but for a flip of a coin kind of sentiment.
Okay, fine. So what so in your 2021 you got diagnosed.
Mm.
Then what happened then? Did you, because you're working now, you're obviously
Yeah,
more stable.
yeah. I was in college, kind of going through all this in my 20s. So from probably the years 17 to about 25, I was just kind of just in a really bad state. I was drinking heavily to compensate and uh, trying different kinds of meds, but this was pre-Obama, so I didn't have insurance for a period of time. So it was just kind of bouncing around and trying to find free samples or something that would work. Um, so I have a very good support system, which has been very helpful. But I've been in and out of college for the past 15 years now, trying to
Okay.
finish out my degree. I started out as pre med, and then I switched to nursing, and then biology, and then just dropped out completely when my health became more of a issue. And it's kind of funny because I pulled up my grades recently to reapply for college, school, and you can just see the cascading like going downhill from the beginning. It's depressing in that regard, but it's nice
So
to kind of
you were
know that.
actually going to become a doctor.
No, I didn't. I wish. I was originally planning on going to school for anesthesiology, and then when my mental health kind of affirmed that that wasn't going to be a good road to go down, I switched to nurse anesthetist, and then as school just stopped becoming an option, I left a little bit and tried to go back and finish a degree out in biology because I was close to that. And I fell in love with cave conservation, so I did a lot of spelunking down in Missouri, and well, I say spelunking. I was in cave ecology courses that took us spelunking, um, and then I ended up having to drop out completely. I moved. I was. This was all in Missouri, and I moved back to my home in 2010, I think it was, and stayed with my parents a bit. Spent the last 10 or 11 years getting kind of well, and I'm going back to school now to uh, become a counselor, just because it seems appropriate to kind of share my experiences with in a way that might be beneficial to other people who've gone through similar things.
So, Matt, are you experiencing any psychotic symptoms now in the present sort of time in 2021?
One fortunate thing about uh, me is I've been very susceptible to medication. I have psychotic breaks. I'm on a drug called Rexulti. It's quasi new. Well, it is brand new. I think it's a modified version. I heard somewhere it's a modified version of Abilify, but it seems much better than Abilify. It's worked out really well for me. My doctor originally wanted me on 2 milligrams, but we worked it down to just one. I figure the less I take, the not necessarily the better, but the less side effects I have to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been many side effects. It gets me a little bit lethargic. But 1 milligram seems to be fine. It's not that I don't have psychotic breaks. It's more that they're just tolerable. It's more just like it's I can handle it for what the amount of meds I'm on, if that makes any sense.
But is it the negative side, the negative symptoms of schizophrenia? Is that what's causing you issues, do you think?
I mean, there's that. There's also just kind of weird beliefs. Everyone's the way that I can best describe it is that it feels like my brain is kind of compartmentalized. There's just different sections just kind of doing their own thing, and they don't cross their wires exactly right as they should. I tend to mumble a lot to myself or talk to myself or not like I think everyone does to a degree, but not just like unaware of what they're doing or just like in regards to something else. Sometimes I tend to forget where I'm at, but only for like a split second. And I have like a weird twitch. I twitch every now and again. And I can't tell if that's just from the medication or just for the disease or something completely different. But I do get, negative symptoms occasionally. I get more positive symptoms. I'll I don't necessarily see things, but I definitely hear things. Usually there are people outside my walls talking about how they're coming in to arrest me or get me, or I hear a lot of piano music from the outside of the room, or some kind of like quiet feeling that I need to do something in order to protect myself. It's just weird.
Do you get frustrated about the amount of understanding of your condition that is lacking from your peers and from the medical community? Is
You
that an
know,
issue with you?
from the medical community, yeah, I was a very very heavy smoker for a very long time, and I've been very worried that I've caused more damage to myself than I think is showing. But so my blood pressure has been very high lately, and you go to the doctor, and some of them have assumed that it's more just in my head. So it's like, well, no. So you have to kind of like really really establish that where your grounds are. And on the flip side of that, not to just play devil's advocate, doctors and nurses, a lot of people, when you deal with a lot of people who present symptoms of a certain thing, and you see someone who's more stable presenting a similar symptom, it's easy to combine them into a single unit. I think a lot of people have to remember that their doctor isn't with them 24/7. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily see all the things that they go
Mm.
through, so it's something that they have to kind of remind them. As far as my peers go, growing I grew up gay in the Midwest. It's one of those things. It's just like I don't have it in me to care about what other people think of me anymore. It doesn't. It phases me in this extent that people vote, and people tend to vote for things that aren't healthy if they are not informed about it. There definitely needs to be a lot of reform with uh, health insurance, uh, with universal. There needs to be universal health care, but that's getting off topic. There definitely needs to be something reformed with access to mental health. If my psychiatrist were to leave me, it would probably be about 5 or 6 months before I get into an appointment with somebody new, just because they're booked. They can't take on any. A lot of places can't take on new clients, and you have to kind of work around the fact that not every psychiatrist in the area is going to take your insurance. So it's a give and take.
So
Um,
it's kind of like an acceptance of the of how your localized world is
yeah,
at the moment. You can't change it, so you kind of just got to accept it and live your life to the best you can.
yeah, and in that regard, I don't care if somebody has a negative connotation about me. I'll say I don't care if anybody knows if I'm schizophrenic. I care more if people find out if I'm schizophrenic, in the regard that like that's out of my control. You know, if somebody knows I'm schizophrenic through me, then that's fine. You know, they either take that or they leave it, or they get pissed off about it or they don't. If somebody finds out, then I have no really say in how their brain processes that, or if they see me in a negative light. And that really only affects me if there's somebody like my boss, or somebody who has a say in my livelihood, which sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar with me. I mean, I'm pretty open with my diagnosis. Um, I haven't told people at my current job yet, but if they do find out by a Google search, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
It's not a problem. I'll if it needs to be, I will talk about it. But the way I see it, we can self stigmatize ourselves. We can make us think, okay, yeah, schizophrenia is such a terrible thing to have, but at the end of the day, it's just a medical condition,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
It's akin to somebody saying, "Oh, that person has diabetes." What a,
what a bastard.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
weird. It's a weird thing to
yeah,
fixate on. But a lot of people just don't know about it, and I think that's more of an issue. It's more of like a portrayal in the media. You see people in like a padlocked room or something. Um, there are people out there who have the condition much worse than I have. I feel like I'm very
yeah.
high functioning for everything considered, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you know the vast majority are need round the clock care. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they do either. It's just part of life, and then just dealing with the shit.
I think you're quite you're quite you've reached a level of acceptance where you feel it's just kind of like, well, this is the way it is. That's how it is. So I got, do you know what I mean? That's why I get that
Yeah,
feeling from you.
yeah. It's more like it is what it is, in the regard that I don't have. I know what I do and don't have control over, and I accept that. But it's also more just I don't have any say in how a person reacts to something, or if they're willing to put time into listening to my side of things. I can't force that on people. And if the idea that we've all had a life, we all have gone through things. If you are my age, you've had the exact same access to all the information I have, and you still choose to believe certain things, even after hearing my side of it, then good luck living your life like that. That's more
Yeah,
power to you. For
yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
it's not. I the Like I said, the only way that it affects me is if there's voting on issues that would lessen certain burdens or create more, depending on the sway of the outcome or whatever.
So it's good. You're working anyway. Do you find your job helps you?
Yes and no. Like I said, it's very. It's not necessarily that the job itself is hard or stressful. It's more just I work with a lot of people who are under a lot of stress and pressure, and they. I don't know if anybody has worked in healthcare, but a lot of people have a bit of an attitude sometimes.
Yeah, I work in
It's
healthcare as well.
Yeah, it's fine. I get it. Like I get it. But I work in an area where you basically have to either tell somebody really good news or constantly tell people bad news. So it's a fun way to. I guess I shouldn't say fun. It can be vexing to have difficult conversations all day.
Are
Um,
you clinical?
am I what?
Clinical?
Cynical? Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, clinical. I mean,
Oh
are you
no, no, I'm sorry.
medical?
Sorry. No, I work. I just I process specimens, so it's Usually, if I make a call, it's because we can't run a test.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I work in a hospital as well.
oh, nice.
I was working in a hospital in London during last year. Um, so that I've changed sites now to. I'm actually working from home at the moment,
Yeah,
but at a different hospital. So my career is healthcare related. I work in the computer side of it, but sometimes I'm based on site at the hospital. So, but I find it interesting. Yeah, yeah. Last year was strange
yeah.
with COVID.
It is, and it feels like it's finally starting to wind down, which has been a very big relief. Um, but that said, there's always going to be good and bad days. But my work has been very. It's been nice to be able to get out of the house.
Yeah,
Um, it's also it's nice to work at a place that takes COVID seriously, and I feel like does a lot of good work in the community with it. And it's also nice in the regard that I was able to get the vaccine, which has been helpful in my stress levels at least a little bit. Um, so it's good in that regard. It it almost feels, I don't know, everything it just felt so surreal this past year and a half that it's, I guess, year, that it's just, I don't know, just is.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. It's still a bit. 2021 is still a bit of a strange year.
Yeah.
So tell me, what I mean, do you go to any? Do you do anything outside of work, outside of your home life, to help you with your condition? Do you go to any drop-in centers, or have you gone to them in the past? Is there anything like that?
I see a therapist. I see him. I saw him more regularly than I do now. He's a bit older, so we've been doing it on Zoom. But it doesn't ring the same for me. So it's hard to keep scheduling like it on it. But I understand it. Um, Other than that, I try to eat well. I try to work out. I honest to God feel like working out and eating well has helped my mental health more than maybe even the meds. But
Yeah,
not by a long shot by any means. But definitely more so than I thought it would initially. Um, like I said, my blood pressure reached a really high level back in 2017, right after I got married. So saying that out loud is kind of funny, but uh, after that, I kind of took my health more seriously and started. I quit smoking, quit drinking, and started eating better and started going to the gym more. But this past year, not being able to go to the gym has been kind of difficult. But one of the since I was taking classes at a local university, I've been able to use their pool, which I didn't realize how much I miss swimming until I get back in it, and I also didn't realize how poorly coordinated I am until I got back in the water after taking a year off. But it's nice. It,
Matt. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
yeah,
There's two more questions I want to ask you. The first question, um, I want you to. You can talk about anything you want, anything I haven't asked you. Now's your chance to talk. If I something that I haven't asked you, please do talk about it now.
yeah. I would say that for me, I've been very very fortunate. I recognize that for me it's probably more different from somebody else who's had issues with insurance. I will say the most evil thing in America right now is the healthcare system. In that there was a period of time when I was working, and this is just a rather anecdotal story, but I think it's not necessarily unique. Um, there was a time I was working at a different place, and the insurance, I had insurance and I was paying a lot of money for the top tier of it each month. uh, they would only pay for my meds if my doctor ordered from some random pharmacy out in the middle of Ohio or something. It always arrived about 2 to 3 weeks late, and it was the shot. So the way that the shot works, it stacks up on itself. So there was about 2 or 3 years where I just needlessly was going out of my gourd. I was getting all the bad side effects of the meds, and then I was gaining weight, but it was just completely out of control because it was so staggered wrong. And it just it goes to show just how bad everything is in that regard. Even my meds now, like they cost an arm and a leg, but you have this magic receipt, and suddenly they're like $5. It doesn't make any sense. It's just it's completely asinine. Um, but there is something to be said about uh, people in poverty or in even like middle class anymore who just needlessly suffer because they don't have access to meds. It's insane, and not to make a pun on it, but it's mind-boggling. Uh, but yeah, not to completely derail. This that was just a little thing I just kind of wanted to.
Yeah, it's. I think in one of my previous episodes, I was speaking to a chap from Canada, and he said, and I looked it up afterwards. There's a new medication which they're trialing, which is a nose spray.
Oh,
I don't know if you've heard about it.
no, I haven't, but I mean that would make sense. There's a lot of
Yeah,
vessels in your nasal cavity. You will
yeah.
get hit fast with whatever you're putting in there.
It also bypasses the digestive system,
Yeah, yeah, it would.
so you do not get the same side effects.
Yeah, you would absorb it straight through your vessels.
Yeah, it goes to the brain. So
Yeah,
that would be fantastic if they did if that got approved
yeah.
and became available. I mean that would be a game changer. I would think.
In terms of speed, yeah, there's one of the issues with a lot of the antipsychotics is just that it needs to build up in your system, and the longer it takes to build up in your system, the more likely you are to build a tolerance to it. So it's that would help circumvent a lot of issues with that.
Yeah,
I think I think it's probably going to seem I don't know it seems not that it seems weird, but it seems strange to me for some reason. It just doesn't seem like it's something that I would ever think that would be a possibility. I'm going to take my meds, just nasal spray. Just, it's funny.
okay, Matt. And the last question I want to ask you: could you let me know some sort of music, what sort of genre you like? So I'll tag it on to the end of this episode.
I've been on a big '60s and '70s kick the past couple weeks, but I heard after Daft Punk split up, I've been on a big Daft Punk kick, and you know anything electronic right now. Just to
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
it's one of those feelings of just like, oh God, that was 30 years ago they joined together, and I'm old. But it's it was sad still at the same time.
It was sad. It's quite kind of amusing. I
Yeah,
saw the video the other day.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that too. Is I get it. Like if I were in their shoes, I'd want to retire too. But
Mm.
it's it's very
Everything has to end, I guess,
it
doesn't it?
does. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Nothing lasts
the
forever.
that's the truth.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to say thank you for speaking
yeah.
with me. Thank you for speaking on my first video interview.
Absolutely.
Absolute pleasure. I hope everything goes well with you, and just continue fighting,
Yeah.
and yeah, just great pleasure to speak with you, Matt.
Back at you. You take care of yourself. Stay safe.
Okay.
It goes like this, we can't anymore.